It's time for the countdown. All right, welcome to developing content from scratch. Forgetting my own title. Developing content from scratch is the title of this series, and tonight we're going to do something a little different. Instead of flying by the seat of our pants, we've got a specific outline that we're going to follow in order to try to give each episode a uniqueness, a bundle, if you will, so that it's not like an ongoing, never-ending phase of sharing things that without end. So tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about how does Alchemical Records choose its content. I think it would be interesting if you're looking to get into blogging, journalism, if you're an artist looking to send materials out to media organizations like Alchemical Records. And before I forget, my name is Daniel Warren Hill. I've got it in the lower third there, but just in case, to clarify, I'm the founder of Alchemical Records since 2009. We've been working to try to elevate the artists of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on a global level. In 2017, 2018, we started kind of transmuting ourselves into a music news and entertainment platform. And so now we've got a team of writers, social media, and events, and help that is just unimaginable 5-6 years ago. We're starting to get into our 13th anniversary, and that'll be October. And some very exciting news. Part of our celebrations is that we are announcing that we're an official media partner of DC Music Summit. Let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about DC Music Summit. So DC Music Summit is a local 501c3 nonprofit. Their theme this year is foundation. Certainly broad enough to be able to discuss things like your foundation in music, your foundation in business, your foundation in really any part of the arts, or taking a leadership role, leading the way in developing a podcast or starting a local community music industry event like Dior Ashley Brown did with DC Music Summit. So you've probably already seen or will see us continue to share some details about DC Music Summit over the next couple of weeks between now and when the event occurs, October 14th through 16th. Meanwhile, you can go to dcmusicsummit.org to be able to submit to perform or to be a speaker or a panelist or to volunteer in general. I just had a chance to talk to Dior the other day, and she had mentioned that the need of volunteers on the day of, expands roles ranging from like kind of ushering or even like assisting with setting up meals and having snacks and things available for the speakers and performers that are there. Some of it could be technical, like requiring audio engineering experience. So a huge array of needs there. If you're a photographer or a videographer, certainly a huge need for you to be there at the event and to catalog the experience and be a part of making history. And that would bring me to another event that we've just announced that we're a media partner for, the Down in the Reeds Festival, taking place at the Parks at Walter Reed on October 8th. Both of these are certainly locations that we hope to have the first issue of Alchemical Records in print, ready and available for people to put in their hands. And let's see. You can also go to downinthereads.com to register or to volunteer or to add some cool swag. They've got some cool shirts and stuff. Let me see if they show it here on their homepage. They've got definitely showing the rich history here of the DMV. And yeah, where is that? That is Eventbrite. Slash reads. Probably actually on their homepage. I just didn't click on the right button. Free RSVP required. Look at that. Technology. Awesome. So you can go to the registration page and they've got the opportunity there for you to RSVP with one of the cool designs for the poster by musician and graphic designer Imka, who I'm only familiar with thanks to DC Music Summit, or I'm sorry, rather Down in the Reeds Festival. So thank you so much for that introduction to Imka's work. Let's see, they just announced their lineup for the year, their schedule. So you can see Red Barat, Medicine Singers with Jonathan Gatt, Mary L. Sound of the City, Project Locria, Allison Crockett, Bell Bell Rhythm Collective, FFC, Miranda, Bolivia, USA, Washington Jazz Arts Institute Youth Ensemble. Imka, I know, is also performing or teaching some meditation classes as well. Lucid District, Hands on Drums, House of Musical Traditions, and of course, all those awesome sponsors supporting an event like this. So let's dive into the theme for tonight. How does Alchemical Records choose its content? I suppose the biggest thing here is just to be able to recognize that we're an artist-centric publication. So part of it is I can't help it, and uh, part of it is I just think that there's the trickle down effect. Artists, and I was just actually speaking with Chris Nam of Down in the Reeds in this today. You know, artists are technically like leading the way in terms of these stretches, these strides that we make for conservationism, global warming, human justice, and then somehow there's all these costs that keep on like going towards the artist. You know, we've in the past theoretically record labels would be the the salvation, if you will, the professional musician outlet. But the model, of course, is changing where it's very DIY, and that's led to the ownership of everything, if you will, but then also the level of control, or as artists have to be knowledgeable about every aspect of their industry before they even are really put into a position in many cases to be able to be signed to a larger label, etc. So there's the independent business person and the musician that has to brunt all of these costs. So my background as an artist lets me, I guess, like really empathize with that perspective. And so Alchemical Records is not by tradition a location where artists are paying to be able to for the pleasure of us to like review their music, and we don't charge like an article rate or anything. As I'll get into, we do use a platform called Submit Hub to be able to help support, I would say, just the broad view, the global perspective on our publication. But we don't, we're not like invoicing artists to write articles. So the artist-centric publication, also that perspective is in place in order to make sure that we're really focused on using the voice of the artist in tandem with the voice of the publication. So Alchemical Records, for the most part, doesn't necessarily have an opinion on a lot of things. So if an artist is talking about it, then that provides like the platform to create a dialogue or have conversation about things from the perspective of the artist that we're covering. And so we're really focused on getting each song's message across, each artist's bio and story across. It's not necessarily like a place where we're prioritizing, the other infrastructures that go into place. We really want to try to prioritize the song itself and the message contained in it. Uh, so then the next thing that we look at is this a new release? And a new release could be broad. A lot of that is maybe what would you say, the the time frame in which we're given to be able to work with. We could, if we, the more lead time that we get, the easier it is for us as a publication to be able to like develop the context, to work together as a team to create multimedia, which is always our goal. And certainly I think a part of what the physical zine will provide is a way to share something in print, something on the internet in terms of written copy, and then all of the multimedia experiences, and trying to improve on that. I was made aware that maybe on our website, that viewers, readers from other parts of the world are not able to see the Spotify embed, and certainly that's a reason to try to create more accessibility. If there's certain limitations or restrictions there that don't seem to be happening if we were to share the same track from YouTube or Bandcamp. So a new challenge to overcome, or a new perspective to try to put into our platform, because we're really trying to get you to show up on our website, read about an artist, and then check out their music. So if we're not facilitating that, then that's an area that we need to improve on. So is this a new release? Uh, Usually if we've got a month's notice, 45 days, even better. As we go into print, 60 to 90 days notice might even be necessary. And there's really only a handful of artists that we communicate with regularly that are maybe able to try to communicate that time frame to us without some assistance. So over the course of having conversations with artists about future releases so we could become better at sharing content, we've also started having conversations with artists about just marketing release and time release structures, and how, by planning that far ahead in terms of release content cycles, that you're actually providing the best opportunity to engage press outlets like us. And I don't think that we're, hot stuff per se. I love everything that we do. But there's a ton of other outlets that artists like dream about getting into: Billboard, Rolling Stone, just to name a few. And so if you want to be able to be ready to present your material on that level, then we try to facilitate the knowledge base to be able to do that. Now, hopefully, of course, at that level, you're even thinking, well, I'm probably going to get a PR person to represent me at that level. And you're probably right. But having some knowledge about what goes into that component, that aspect of the industry, is also part of the business areas that you have to develop. And there are some artists that I've spoken to that have taken courses and things in terms of PR, still hiring somebody else to do the work for them, but just gaining that knowledge base to communicate on what's needed and why, and how these timelines play into the publication's roles. Is this a new audio track or music video? I can certainly say that unfortunately it's necessary for us to prioritize music videos over audio files, because there are less music videos produced than there are new songs. And so if I were, and maybe we will get into just kind of our content calendar, but there's a lot more music submissions being sent to us than music video submissions. So we tend to prioritize music videos, or at least use them as the excuse, to be able to add them into our lineup when our audio file portion is kind of full. The website itself is designed to try to communicate watch, read, listen, and go categories. So it's important for us to balance the amount of like music videos and listen audio files that we share on the site, or it has been in the past. Are the topics or themes in the song currently relevant to Alchemical? Okay, now I jumped something. Is it tied to an EP or an LP? In other words, is this a single? The reasoning behind that is because if you're let us know that you have a single, but you don't let us know that it's tied to an EP or an LP, and then somebody else sends us a single and they let us know that in 3 months they're going to be releasing the EP or the LP, then that again lets us kind of prepare. And we do enjoy, as a publication, building relationships. So we try not to share music that we wouldn't want to share more than once, and or buy an artist that we wouldn't want to share more than once. And we also love being able to maintain our readers through a cycle of a single through an EP or an album. So if you're releasing 3 or 4 singles leading up to the EP, we get to talk about you 3 or 4 times, provided that we've got that communication built in. Are the topics themes currently relevant to Alchemical? So this can vary. We've had looser calendars, stricter calendars, but every publication is typically vying for some sort of theme. I know, like, Vintage Guitar will have like the NAMM special issue or the amp issue, the guitar issue, and so on and so forth. And for us, we're trying to constantly, it's a later point, but we're constantly trying to provide an inclusive and diverse music platform, multi-genre, multi-background, and we want that to be one of the priorities in terms of our scheduling. Let me see if I put this back here. So sometimes, like, that can be a part of our theme. And sometimes it can just be a matter of, like, we want that to be our representation year round. So even though we're about to release pieces about Latin Heritage Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, we want that community to be represented year round. So there are themes, if you will, that we're looking to discuss when it's timely for the rest of the world, or timely for the DMV region. There's also other kinds of themes. If we've done 6 songs about heartbreak in the last week, then I'm going to be less inclined to accept another song about heartbreak unless there's some sort of unique quality or twist or other perspective. It would be surprising, I think. There's probably any time that we're not sharing a track, we're declining a track for some reason. It's 99.9% of the time not because a song isn't good. There's usually just about trying to create a funnel where we can use the same kind of decision-making processes. It might be something of an algorithm, but in the end, it's humans, trying to make a decision based on the knowledge that is presented to us. So then the other thing I've mentioned is that we're a DMV-centric publication. So a lot of times I've heard folks say that we should be just a DC-only publication. I admire that. I believe in that. But from my experience as somebody who's mostly based in the music communities of Annapolis, Maryland, and Waldorf, Maryland, recognizing the DC community and the bigger picture regionally, we just spoke with an artist in a recent interview who mentions Baltimore being a part of the DC community. That is offensive to some, because we're very protective about our spaces and our regions. And I certainly, can think of the local music community where I live within a very small radius of being something that's really special to me, but also, like, recognizing at the same time that the DMV is the region, that if you're an artist and you want to expand your music business, that the best place to do that is within a 6-hour radius of the Washington, D.C. area. And so, to me, that's why we cover the DMV. But we also can't live in a bubble. We can't promote the artists of the DMV without understanding some of the other music contextually, globally. So, and also then we can't be, I would say, we can't be well-rounded without acknowledging the global presence, or even acknowledging the Washington, D.C. area's impact as a as a transitionary kind of location. A lot of people move here temporarily. They're here for a couple of years. They leave their mark. They move on and they go and they keep making music somewhere else, but they've taken some part of the DC area with them. They've built relationships or networks. And so that's the next stage of what we're trying to cover. And then after that would be, maybe people that we can't form direct ties with. Maybe they don't live in the DMV. Maybe they don't have a strong connection to the DMV. But we do try to create these layers to try to show our love for the Washington, D.C. area community. And we believe that the growth or the recognition of the infrastructure that already exists in the Washington, D.C. area is tied to spreading that message globally and not just keeping ourselves within a loop. Let's see what's next in the list. Genre and name dropping. Okay, so multi-genre means we can cover anything. We have done, like a church choir on the same day as a heavy metal release. For the concept of name dropping, I'd say we love being able to make association. So, of course, there is an association to be made on a national level if we can name drop a national artist alongside a Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia artist. And then there's also then again some regional context, some uh, some context maybe in the U.S., some context overseas. In a perfect world, every article that we do would have the the subject that we're covering, a DMV artist that artist sounds like, and maybe an East Coast artist, a national artist, and then an international artist. So we'd love to be able to create that kind of context. That's the vision that I've been heading towards since we got our wheels turning here. Next question, how can I submit my music or event to Alchemical Records? So the first place is just at alchemicalrecords.com. We've got a form here on the website. Artists, send us your 2022 release info or other story ideas here. Hopefully that's clear enough. We're going to soon have to update this to 2023 release info, and we're really at the spot where we need to start gathering that information. So that will be added to, I guess, my agenda for later this week. So the first location would be, send us your 2022 info. So it's really just a simple form. You can send us a music or audio file. We love being able to credit local or credit photographers in the work that we do. So it's pretty simple. You can submit other story ideas here. So we are happy to share upcoming events, happy to share industry events, things like that if you submit them through this form. Or maybe you're just aware of somebody else doing something really cool and you want to put it on our radar. Just those are the two places to be able to do that on our website. And then the other location is our email address, magazine@alchemicalrecords.com. If you're an artist, I'd encourage you to add it to your press mailing list and keep us in the loop. Give us a heads up, schedule a meeting, talk it out with us. Even if you don't have things ironed out, as I mentioned, we can certainly be a help in trying to organize based on our publication timeline, some suggestions for maximizing that release. And then the last place is Submit Hub. I had mentioned earlier. I know that you have options for where you submit your music to when you're trying to use some sort of aggregator like this, like Muso Soup or similar. But I will say that I've used Submit Hub both to send and receive campaigns, and I've really admired the accountability that exists inside of the platform for curators like me or for artists submitting music. It seems like a really fair and balanced system where you have to provide feedback, where you can say when you're going to have a release date, and then provide the data, the assets, the resources, the links to be able, the bio and the stuff is all kind of self-contained. Makes it really simple to be able to like uh, add it to your various release outlets, or to be able to provide feedback and to have guaranteed that you've listened for a set amount of time. And then, at one point, we were receiving just so many submissions that I was feeling overwhelmed. And somebody from Submit Hub actually reached out and was like, "You should pause your campaign. We want to make sure that you're not receiving so many submissions that you're not able to keep up with them." Um, so there's ways to be able to pause campaigns, and even to send stuff to people that are paused that they'll find when they get back. So there's just a really helpful, thoughtful infrastructure. There's a community there on both sides. And if you'd like to share music with us, those are the various methods with which to do so. Uh, so how should content be submitted? Uh, the method may determine the format, and by that I mean, first of all, I don't really think I don't think you can maybe do more than maybe initiate a conversation um, on social media. I think that you're going to have to take the information elsewhere, in some format. There's just too many things that should be included, that you shouldn't try to send, in my opinion, through text messages, Facebook Messenger, or social media. And that those platforms don't lend themselves well to sharing, believe it or not with like a team of people that have to be included in that conversation about how, that narrative or how that story is going to be developed into content. So I'd say, find a platform like Submit Hub to help, maybe keep you organized or understand what people are looking for, trial and error. In terms of like sending out press releases and similar to uh, like a curator like me, directly via email or through our website, I've seen a lot of different forms. My least favorite is the one um, that says check out my music. That's my least favorite one. Um, because I check out a lot of music. Our team checks out a lot of music. Um, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to giving us a call to action to direct us to how we can help that release. Um, there are artists that are looking specifically for, some social media uplifting, for example. So if we were to share something on an Instagram stories, that would be impactful. And maybe what they're looking for. And so if they asked for that, they might get that. If you're looking to be added to a playlist or looking to be added to a blog or want to be featured in print, you should try to be direct with your ask. I'd say the same thing for radio stations, or even curators who have multiple playlists. We use primarily one playlist to share all music through at first, and then we direct it to other playlists that we have. But some playlist managers have 40 playlists. And so instead of just, I'd like to be added to one of your playlists, well, pick one. Why that playlist? Explain yourself. Give people enough detail to work with. I guess so. The direct ask, including a brief history or bio, 3 to 5 sentences is enough to tell somebody like where you're from, how you got your start, and like what inspires you, maybe in general, right? And then another 3 to 5 sentences should be, um, I've called it notable references. So if you were on The Voice and, you know, and on American Idol and on America's Got Talent, like that's enough. If you got featured in uh, the Washington Post and was on The Voice and had um, a number one charting Spotify song, right? Like, or any of these combinations work. At some point, you don't have to keep on going. There's not enough accolades. There's not even enough like space in most cases to properly, I'd say, like, define those spaces in an introduction. So, um, top three brags, uh, keep it simple. And then I think it's really important to share the intentions behind this release. If you've got a single, if you've got an EP, there should have been some conversation in your own mind about, uh, what the outcome, what you'd like the outcome of this song to be once somebody hears it. And I think that it's important to share that. I don't know that you'll have to necessarily, give a history lesson behind the song, but find a way to create a personal human connection with the people that you hope will hear it, and put that into, something succinct inside of the information that you're putting out to press. 2 to 3 photos, different sizes, better quality is better. Um, any kind of content creator, should be able to shrink those down. And I think in a future episode of developing content from scratch, we'll go over some of the tools that we use to do some of that media editing. But sending your best quality work. Song details. So the inspiration behind this release, not the intentions behind this release, not what you want the outcome to be, but the inspiration. So the inspiration behind this would be, um, let's say, for example, Ben DeHaan's The Dream, inspired by the music of Weezer and the lyrics of Green Day. And I, that is a tone that would probably be also something you could shift down to similar artists. The inspiration might be, um, waking up one morning and not being able to find your dog, right? Like, that could be the inspiration behind it, and your similar artist could also become part of that story, or not. It could just be that who it sounds like. So you've written something, you didn't know what the plan was. You got to the end, and guess what? It just sounds like Stone Temple Pilots. It just can't be helped. So there you have it. You should list notable credits like producers, engineer, the studio you went with, the person who designed your album art. You should include your lyrics. All of those things are, I would say, reasonable details that help, again, draw relationships for people in press. You start to see the same engineers' names. You start to see the same producer names, or designers. You start to see some similar photographers. And all of that stuff, I think, is part of again, just building that community and that networking relationship. If you've worked with like the same producer for a long time and you've made a switch, like, there's a story there. Maybe it's not that everybody broke everything in the studio and now you never want to talk to each other again. Maybe it's just, feeling like somebody could um, lift up a specific vision, comparatively, or being unavailable. I would have loved to have worked with Bob again, but he was unavailable working with another act at the time. The only time I had available to schedule. Some of that stuff is part of your story, and so being willing to kind of dive in and share that is relevant. You should include streaming and download links to current media. I've found that the best tool for this is actually box.com. I uh, can upload a whole variety of files up to a certain size on a free plan, or even their introductory plan, which is pretty reasonable either way. And then when I send that to somebody, they can preview it from box.com without having uh, an account of their own. They can stream it through Box. They can download the file if they need to, and that's something that, for the multimedia day in which we live, it becomes easier to manage that way. Some folks might be able to do something similar inside of Google Drive. I've found that that Box is maybe more open, comparatively between say Mac and PC. So there's less, it's less rigid. There's certainly a lot of Android use, in terms of Gmail, but I think Box helps to bridge that gap. You should certainly provide links to all of your like various platforms, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, etc. That could be a long list. Socials, social media platforms, and of course the release date. Nothing that I don't know to do with more than like a great press release that this happens to be missing a release date. Doesn't happen very often. Sometimes it's hidden. I don't like hidden release dates. I do look for them, but I don't like them. So bold that thing. Put it at the top. That's my suggestion anyway. Just don't hide the lead, as it were. All right, we have concluded our very first, well planned episode of developing content from scratch. To find out more about myself or my team or the artists that we have the pleasure of sharing with you, please visit us at www.alchemicalrecords.com. Or if you're interested in supporting our efforts online and in print, or just want to check out and see what we're doing in phase 2, 3, I'm not sure, of Alchemical Records, then check out our in-print magazine at alchemicalrecords.com/magazine. We've got a couple different levels of supporter plans and some cool perks that we're giving out along the way, hopefully announcing some more. But hang tight, because we're working really hard to try to get to this first publishing date for October 8th at Down in the Reeds. And then we'd love to see you at DC Music Summit on October 14th through 16th. Drop us a line at magazine@alchemicalrecords.com. My name is Daniel Warren Hill, and I will see you next week.